Some houses are abandoned for a reason. Some whispers should never be answered. And some doors should never be opened. They thought it was just another ghost story, a forgotten house, a local legend. But when they stepped inside, the house woke up, and it was hungry. What happened that night was never spoken of again, because the ones who returned were never the same. You shouldn't have come here. The house stood at the edge of town, forgotten by time, swallowed by nature. It had been abandoned for decades, yet something about it felt alive. The townsfolk avoided it, whispering of shadows moving behind its broken windows and the strange noises that echoed from its empty halls at night. One evening, a group of friends, Sarah, Mark, and James, stood before the house, daring each other to enter. They were skeptical of the stories, convinced it was just another abandoned ruin. But as they crossed the threshold, the air grew heavier, colder, as if they were no longer alone. Inside, dust-covered furniture sat frozen in time. A grand chandelier, long unlit, hung above, its crystals coated in cobwebs. The walls were lined with faded portraits whose painted eyes seemed to follow their every move. Then came the first sound, an unmistakable whisper, though no one else was in the house. Mark turned sharply. "Did you hear that?" He shone his flashlight toward the staircase, where someone, stood at the top. A silhouette, featureless and unmoving. Then, in an instant, it vanished. The whispering grew louder, almost pleading. Sarah's flashlight flickered and died, plunging them into near darkness. A sudden thump echoed through the house. The sound came from beneath them. Slowly, the basement door creaked open on its own. James hesitated. "We shouldn't go down there." But the whispering turned to weeping, a desperate, mournful cry. Compelled by something unseen, Sarah stepped forward, placing a hand on the cold, damp railing. The moment her foot hit the first step, the door slammed shut behind them. In the basement, the air was thick with decay. Rusted chains dangled from the ceiling, and in the farthest corner stood a mirror, tall, ornate, and covered in grime. But their reflections were wrong. The figures in the glass didn't move as they did. They stood still, staring back. And then, one of the reflections stepped forward. The mirror shattered with an ear-piercing shriek. The air twisted violently as the whispering voices turned into screams. A force pushed them backward, knocking them to the ground. Gasping, they scrambled up the stairs, the unseen presence clawing at their backs. The front door flew open, and as they tumbled outside, everything fell silent. The house was lifeless once more. They never spoke of that night again. The house remained untouched, as if it had never woken. But sometimes, on quiet nights, passing by the old house, you might hear the faintest whisper. Mark, and James thought they had escaped someone back inside. But the nightmare was far from over. That night, in her room, Sarah caught a glimpse of her reflection in the mirror. At first, it looked normal. But as she stepped closer, her reflection did not blink. Then, it smiled. A slow, unnatural grin stretched across its face, a face that was no longer hers. She stumbled backward, but the reflection did not move. Instead, it whispered in a voice that was her own, but twisted, distorted. "You brought it with you." Across town, Mark lay in bed, unable to sleep. His room felt colder than usual, the air thick and unmoving. He turned over, facing the wall. Then he felt it, the weight of something pressing down on the mattress beside him. Breathing. Slow. Raspy. Right behind his ear. Terrified, he reached for his phone to turn on the flashlight, but before he could, a cold hand gripped his wrist. James was the first to return to the haunted house. Not by choice, but because something led him there. His dreams had become invitations, the house calling him back with whispers and glimpses of that dark, faceless figure. Every time he shut his eyes, he was back in the basement, standing before the shattered mirror. Tonight, he couldn't fight it anymore. He found himself standing at the front door of the house, though he had no memory of how he got there. His fingers trembled as he reached for the handle, and the door swung open on its own. James stepped inside, and the door slammed shut behind him. The foyer was different now. The walls stretched upward, impossibly high, disappearing into darkness. The house was breathing, alive. The air pulsed with an unseen heartbeat, and the floor beneath his feet twisted and warped. Then,